Last year, so many of you joined us for the 5K, and it was the most amazing experience in person and virtually. It was so much fun that we are bringing it back. This time, it's in Tampa.
May 4th, we are bringing the whole crew back, including Jelly Roll. Me, Tom, Jelly Roll. Listen, if you don't think you can do it, Tommy, tell them they can do it.
You can do it. We can do it. We did it. Look at us. It's not that crazy. You can do it. You just have to try a little bit. Go to twobears5k.com to register. And thank you to Spartan for helping us produce and put this on. And everybody at YMH and Birdie Boy. We are so excited. We will see you May 4th in Tampa for the next Two Bears 5K.
And I can't wait for Baker Mayfield to verbally commit.
He's coming?
He's definitely coming.
Great ass on that guy.
What's up, everybody? I've got some shows coming up. February 8th in New Orleans at the UNO Lakefront Arena for the big game. That's Saturday night, not Sunday night. Me, Nikki Glazer, Tony Hinchcliffe, and Adam Ray as Dr. Phil, and huge surprise guests. Then in Vegas in March, 21st and 22nd at Resorts World Theater. And finally, Canada. I'm coming to you. Winnipeg, Halifax, Calgary, and Vancouver. It's me, Whitney Cummings, Miss Pat, and Derek Stroop. Go to BertBertBert.com for all of them.
When people ask me, why don't you drink or something like that? Or I just say I'm allergic. I'm allergic to it. I break out in handcuffs. That's just the difference.
So you're going into San Quentin to talk, just to a speaking engagement?
So this,
what is the Last Mile?
So Last Mile organization is a foundation based in bringing educational programming in prisons around coding and audiovisual production.
I forgot you were in prison.
Yeah.
For a second, I just forgot about you.
Well, the reason why we got in touch originally is because you reached out to Kevin Connolly.
Yeah.
After we did did the bus pod.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it happened. So
No, I remember. I was obsessed.
You were a fan of it, yeah.
I was obsessed with it. It's called Bust.
Yeah.
It's on, you can find it. There's 13 episodes. The last one you did was with your coach from Washington State. And it's fucking... the thing I loved about it, real quick, for anyone who doesn't know, if they're just tuning in right now and they're like, wait, Ryan Leaf, do I know that name? Can you give, like I always say, my life story, I'll tell it to you real quick. Let everyone listening go, I'm Ryan Leaf, this is what you need to know.
Yeah. Grew up in Montana, where professional athletes don't come from.
Yeah.
At all.
Nothing comes from.
There's no blueprint, just cows and self-loathing, I think. And so there was no expectation. I just knew I loved to compete, and I worked really, really hard to be great. And I wanted to get out of that town, and I wanted to go be a professional athlete, whatever that looked like. And so it was rare. I was different. Everybody wanted a professional athlete from their hometown, and instead they got me.
What's interesting is you did want to leave that town, and hearing your story, hearing you talk about, there's people that go, I'm never going to leave Cleveland. I'm never leaving Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And then there's people like my wife go, I'll never leave Bowden, her family. And my wife's like, I'm getting the fuck out of Bowden.
Yeah.
Then that's a feeling. And I remember that feeling of like going to the beach. And we go to the beach on the weekends, and I'd be like, this is beautiful, but I want to go where people are. I want to be around girls. But that was that really comes through in when you talk about that, is like you did want to get the fuck out.
Well, I just didn't feel like I could accomplish the things I wanted to accomplish if I stayed there.
Yeah.
There was no professional teams in the state of Montana. Everybody revolved around the small universities, and so I wanted to be like my heroes were the Fab Five. Like Jalen Rose I wanted to be him. Big, tall, 6'8" point guard. And I had, my head was shaved. I had my ears pierced, black socks, shorts down to my knees, and that's not what my hometown was about. It was conservative. It was white. It was, blue collar. And I wasn't it. And so I kind of got told I was bad, and when you're a kid like that you develop a chip and you're like, oh, I'm going to prove everybody wrong. And that facilitated great change and positive stuff for me for years. It took me all the way to the top. But if you don't evolve, you don't change that chip into something that is about something greater than you, you'll crash and fall at the highest level talent-wise if you don't. And that's kind of what happened to me. I was the second pick in the draft. Like you said, got everything that I thought I wanted, the contract, the money, the endorsements, I mean, everything. And
pussy, that was my favorite part of the podcast. You're like, dude, I wanted the money, I didn't want to go to Indianapolis.
No, I wanted the money, the beach, and the babes. Yeah. That sounded much more fun than, snow and ice and, Indianapolis. I wasn't thinking about the right things, Bert. I wasn't thinking about Marvin Harrison. I wasn't thinking about Marshall Falk at the time was the running back there. Yeah. I was thinking about, all that money and all that pussy probably. And it was just like.
And you signed with the agent that they based Jerry Maguire on.
Yeah, Lee Steinberg.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like he had Aikman, he had Steve Young, he had Drew Bledsoe, he had all the big time quarterbacks. And so, I mean, it was just like when somebody like puts a blueprint together of how it should go, or, you're checking off the little dream checkoff list, it was it.
Yeah.
So, what happens when things starts to mudslide down the hill, Southern California?
When did you become competitive? Like, when did you start noticing? Because I had my competitiveness, I had to reel back when I got into comedy, because I was like, all right, there's no room for competition in art. Like, it's not super healthy. But dude, I respect the fuck out of competitiveness.
So I tell people I was a drug addict long before I ever took a drug. And my first drug of choice was competition. The obsessive nature of it, what I would do to win, I know what that looks like in drug addiction. And now I can look back on it and go, oh, that's what I was obsessive about. My dad would take me in at 6 a.m. in the morning, and I had to make so many free throws or 3-pointers before I could go to homeroom, that gets so overlooked, all the work that's done behind closed doors that no one sees.
Yeah.
How many times do you take a set, when you're up, when you practice your stuff at these places that no one ever sees, you bomb a bunch of times too. And then when you have it perfect, you're out on this special on Netflix or whatever it is. And it kills, right?
Yeah.
It's all the work you put into it that's really special. And sometimes I think I did myself a disservice thinking like this was just God-given talent and I didn't nurture it and do all the work that I needed to get there. So it came early, and I think I was 11 years old playing for Little League All-Stars, and we made it to the state finals. If we win there, we get the chance to go like to San Bernardino, California, which is one step away from going to Williamsport.
Yeah.
And from kids from Montana, that would have been unheard of. And so we're playing, and in the first game, we got our ace going, a big kid that, had his growth spurt 4 years before everybody else did. And he's just he's got freaking a mustache at 12 years old, and he's shaving already and all the stuff. And we get beat with him on the mound that night. And I remember I lost it in terms of why this loss wasn't affecting everybody else on the team as much as it was me. I was 11. So the next day we're doing practice, like a little BP and stuff like that before the second round game, because it's best 2 out of 3. But we're not throwing our ace now, and it's going to be more difficult. I just thought it was over. I just thought, and why isn't anybody taking this as seriously? And the coaches weren't and everything like that. So during practice, I just started yelling at everybody and said, screw this. And I left. I just walked off the field, and I didn't have anywhere to go. So I ended up in the park across the street, just watching my team practice and everything. They reached out to my parents after the fact. And this is a huge story that I don't really remember too much of, but rather knowing that at 11 years old, like if you weren't all in with me, like you were the problem. So I think that kind of shows the competitive part of it from the jump.
I play with dudes like that. That's so fucking, it's so interesting. I hope we got a bunch of people that love sports listening to this, because growing up playing sports is so, it's so telling of who you are going to be as a man. Like I really like, I want to say his name because he reminds me a lot of you, but a guy I played with, one of my best friends, was the guy that if he could fucking lose it in the thing, but his dad was like a real man. And if his dad saw him losing it, his dad would walk out to the mound in front of all the parents and just dress him down to the point where we make him cry.
Oh, yeah. My dad was nothing like that. And now we've given him grandchildren, that's all he's ever wanted. That's all he cares about. My mom says he just sits at home on his phone and looks at the videos we sent him over and over when he gets home from work. He's just looking through.
Really?
Yeah.
This show is sponsored by DraftKings. This ain't the little itty bitty teeny tiny bowl. This is the Super Bowl. 59 to be exact. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 59. Scoring touchdowns is the key to hoisting the Vince Lombardi trophy, and you have a shot right now to score big by betting on them at DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet on touchdowns. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. This is the go-to. Look, I don't want to tell you how to run your Super Bowl party. I'll tell you this right now, okay? You're going to need wings. You're going to need hot dogs. You're going to need hamburgers, and you're going to need gambling, okay? It makes the Super Bowl so much more fun. You will never enjoy an event. Eventize your Sunday and make it big, and make it big in your heart. Allow the opportunity for your heart to race. Allow the opportunity to sit on the edge of your couch and shout at the screen. Have fun. Don't go too big, but have fun. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code BERTCAST. That's code BERTCAST for new customers. Get $200 in bonus bets instantly. And when you bet just $5, you get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash in non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average saving account. Interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC. Member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. God, and your mom, I heard you one time say your mom, I don't know where I heard this, but your mom defined herself by how people felt about you.
Yeah. Like how, well,
we have she was similar parents.
she was the oldest of 5 girls. Her dad was well-renowned in the community as a rancher, but he was also an alcoholic. And so embarrassed, and she was forced to take care of that a lot with the 4 other sisters that she was the oldest of. And so she saw similarities in my behavior that were exhibited in his, I think. And so she was kind of, don't let anybody see that. And that's probably where I learned how to lie. That's where I learned what shaming feels like, you're bad. And so, and it's not her fault.
Shame is such a fucking gross thing. Yeah. It fucks with you so bad. And I don't, not to interrupt, and I'm a worst at interviewing people because I jump in and talk about myself.
Well, that's what these are. It's dialogue.
Yeah, it's just a conversation. But shame, it's the reason I've never really ever thought about seriously quitting drinking, because of the shame that if I start again, it turns into a fucking nightmare.
Hey, that is like, well, so have you ever, do you know Dak Shepard?
Yeah.
Okay, so like I really look up to him. He got sober, but during the pandemic, like he relapsed.
Yeah.
That's exactly the thing you're talking about. Like this guy's known for, like a pedestal was placed for how he got sober and built this life. And then for him, I thought that would be the hardest thing to do if I were to relapse. Now I'm coming up on 13 years. Like if I were to relapse, could I actually be honest about it and talk about it? And so when I heard him say he relapsed
on his podcast, I listened to that episode.
Podcast,
it was amazing.
It it opened my eyes. And then I started talking about this thing that happened about 3 years ago where my father-in-law comes to visit and he's old and he's handicapped and we're sitting at dinner and he started talking just, he doesn't understand probably addiction or anything like that. He starts talking about this new medication that the doctor put him on. And my addict brain just goes, boom. I hear this name of this drug and I'm just like, after dinner's over, I'm on my computer like looking it up. Now listen, I'm like 11, 10 years sober at this time. So it's been out of my system forever. But it's in my house now. And this was a strong opiate.
Oh, yeah?
And I didn't say anything. I didn't go like, I'm worried about this. What I did was it was over already. I was over into the guest house there, ready to take him. But my wife knows me so well now. Like she knew what was going on. And I snuck around the back way and all of a sudden I see her just make a beeline across the patio and come barreling in. She's going, "What are you doing?"
Wow.
And my answer wasn't like it. I was like, I just looked at her and I'm like, how did you know? And she's like, I know. And she saved my life because I know what that tape looks like if we play it through, like how it makes me feel and how I'm ashamed of it. And then I won't tell anybody. And then I want to put that shame away. And the only way to put that shame away is to numb it.
Yeah.
So, but the difference in all that is, and it was the difference between how my family dealt with things when shit hit the fan, like it was the end of the world. Like the world's over. No one can know about this. This is death.
Yeah.
And from her family, a healthy dynamic about discussion, she was like, let's ask some questions. How do we resolve this? Her dad was like, should I stay in a hotel? And I'm like, I love you when you stay here. Your grandson loves it. I want you to stay here. There's got to be a different issue. As it turned out, the easiest issue there was, we went on freaking Amazon and ordered an RX safe. That's it. So now the safe's at home. She has a key. He has a key. When he comes to visit, they get locked up, and I haven't thought about it since. It's the simplest little thing that we're so fearful about discussing because of the shame around and the stigma around this stuff. And it was that. And Dax talking about it allowed me. Now, I use it part of my talks and stuff like that to show like, hey, I was 10, 11 years sober. And I was like, boom, gone.
Once it's already happened, it's happened.
Yeah.
My buddy got out of my buddy was in rehab for like 3 months. I just had my daughter, Georgia. We went and played tennis. My buddy was an amazing athlete. Gave up on all of it. Too competitive,
yeah.
Couldn't, and just would fucking, I'm talking the most beautiful baseball swing you've ever seen, one of the most effortless, beautiful tennis players you've ever seen, surfing, gorgeous, and a stud with a great fucking name. His name's Cayman. He's a fucking stud. Drugs and alcohol got into his life, right?
Yeah.
And he goes to rehab out in Malibu, 3 months sober, and I just have Georgia, and we go play tennis, and I'm watching him meltdown. And he's like, I'm going to get a fucking beer. And I was like, come on, buddy, let's not do that. And he's like, no, I'm going to get a beer. And I was like, no, why don't we go back to my house? We'll fucking hang out. It'll pass. We go back to my house and I'm watching him and I look in his eyes and I'm like, the wolf's out. The dog's gone.
It's done. He's already made the decision.
And I said to him, I had Georgia and I go, hey, Cayman, why don't you just hold my daughter for a little bit? And he looks and he goes, hey, I've already decided. I'm going to get drunk right now. Are you coming or are you not coming? I was like, I can't go. And he was like, all right, cool. And he just walked out my door and I was like, oh, he decided that's a fucking, but that shame then puts him into a spiral where all of a sudden he's in the fucking woods for 13 weeks.
Dude, you look at yourself in the mirror and you know what you are. And there's only one way for you to remove that shame. And it is to numb it. I don't want to feel this way.
Yeah.
I don't want to look at that guy and feel the way I'm feeling about him.
Did it always feel like that? Like, cause you partied in college. We kind of soft sold the whole story, but I think it's better to let it unravel. You partied in college, but always performed at the highest fucking level.
Yeah, drugs. Like I've never taken a drug in my life. The only drug I have taken is a prescribed opiate from a doctor.
Yeah,
I didn't get drunk until my 18th birthday, and I don't know if I was drunk. I just had never had alcohol in my life, and they gave me like 3 shots of peppermint schnapps, and I threw up all over the place, and was like, I'm never drinking again.
Yeah.
And in college, my only way to not be everybody treated me like big man on campus, and I wasn't necessarily that guy. I wasn't comfortable being that guy, so I would binge drink in college. But I probably can count on 2 hands the amount of times I've been drunk in my life.
The coolest thing about your college story is your first season as a starter. You guys perform like 5 and 7 or something, and then you and your boys decide we're not going home.
Nope.
This is the fucking sexiest. This fucking turns me on more than a naked woman. Is you and your boys decide we're gonna stay in fucking college this summer. We're taking classes. We're gonna bust our ass. We're gonna work out. We're gonna bomb. We're gonna play golf every fucking day.
Yep.
And we're gonna work out. And we're gonna come back. And we're going to the fucking Rose Bowl next year.
Yep.
And you did it.
And what was funny about it was, 4 of the 5 wide receivers are all from like South Central, like Compton, and completely a different environment than me. Completely different, and it just shows guys in sports from many different diverse places come together for one common goal, and we did. I mean, it was so fun. I love those guys. I was on. Listen, this is funny. We were doing some publicity for The Last Mile, and I was on Sway's show in New York at the Sirius XM. And we're doing the interview, and we go through the story, most of it, and everything like that. And then the phones light up and everything like that. And all of a sudden, this guy jumps on, and I hear the voice, and he's like, he's like, our next caller says he played with you in college. And I go, and as soon as his voice comes on, I know who it is. It's Kevin McKenzie. It's my slot receiver who caught a touchdown in the Rose Bowl for me. Him and I were. He's from South Central, and it's amazing. Like, he had never called. He listens to that show all the time. First time he called was because I was on the show telling the story. And we've had a lot of kind of those stories. I would suspect you do too, in terms of when you are able to, on a global landscape and have the platform you have all these kind of crazy stories that come together where people saw you then or were with you then. And
buddy, I was on Loveline this is the wildest.
Is this the one was this with
Dr. Drew?
Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla back in the day?
So Adam had left.
Okay.
And they were looking for a replacement for Adam.
Yeah.
Myself, I think Joel McHale.
Do you know Joe well?
Yeah.
So do I.
Yeah.
I love that dude.
He's great.
He texts me shots of him barbecuing meat. That's one of his biggest things he likes to do. I don't know why. He heard I was from Montana and I grew up on a cattle ranch or something. And he says, look at this one. Pretty much during the pandemic is when we were doing a lot of that stuff.
I get pictures of knives.
Of knives.
Because we both collect knives.
Okay.
So
we met at a farmer's market in Studio City.
He's from Washington State, right?
Yeah, he played for the University of Washington. He actually was a tight end.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was on the Rose Bowl team for Washington.
Oh, wow. I think I knew that.
Yeah.
Well, they're testing for replacements for Adam.
Yeah.
A bunch of us are going in and testing. And I come in and there's a phone call. And they go, there's a phone call from someone who says they went to school with you. And I said, yeah, sure. And they're like, hey, Bert, why don't you tell them about the time you robbed us in Russia? And I was like, oh, yeah. Drew's like, what? And I said, I got involved with the Russian mafia in Russia.
Step from the whole machine stuff?
Yeah, and I robbed a train. And he went, wait, hold on. He goes, tell me the story. So I tell him the story. It's the first time I ever told it. And I told it to Drew that night. And then the next night, he called that next day and he said, I'd like you to come back on the show and tell it again. And I went back and I told it again. And he said, that's your movie. That's your movie. And I was going to fucking cut to, 20 years later?
Yeah.
I make a movie of it. But it's those calls that you get where people go, oh shit, I know this guy. I think that's cool as shit. Men, if you've lost your hair, it doesn't mean you can't find it again. Try Hims Hair Loss Solutions and you'll be joining hundreds of thousands of subscribers who found their hair again. Hims provides you with convenient quality access to a range of hair loss treatments that work, all from the comfort of your couch. Hims makes treating hair loss simple with doctor-trusted options and clinically proven ingredients like finasteride and minoxidil. I think I've used both of those. I know I've used finasteride, and I currently use minoxidil, and they can grow hair in as little as 3 to 6 months. The process is simple, 100% online, so there are no uncomfortable doctor visits like I had to when I started using minoxidil. You had to go to a doctor. I think I was 22, and it was so uncomfortable. It was a woman doctor, and you had to get a prescription, and you had to go back and renew it. And it made me not want to do it. When I found out about Hims, I was like, it can just be dropped off straight to my door. Are you kidding me? No awkward doctors. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/Bertcast. That's HIMS.com/Bertcast for your personalized hair loss treatment options. hims.com/Bertcast. Results vary based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil and finasteride. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. And take a look at these locks. This podcast is brought to you by True Classic. Let me tell you something. It is T-shirt season here in LA. This is our winter's over, and T-shirts are the look. And I'm not a guy who can wear stuff written on his T-shirts. I get a lot of T-shirts. I am a clean-cut T-shirt guy. I think it's the look, man. Jeans, T-shirt, flip-flop. You look slick. And here's the problem, though. Not everyone can wear T-shirts. That's why I love True Classic. True Classic's T-shirts are amazing. They fit perfect for guys like me and probably guys like you. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm certain you probably look a little bit like me. They're snug in the arms and in the chest, so you look jacked, but they got enough room in the midsection so that you look somewhat skinny. It kind of like drapes a little bit, so you feel slick. You feel like Matthew McConaughey. Their shirts are awesome, and I'm telling you, tight in the arms is the look. If you see a guy, no matter what his belly situation is, if you got nice arms, everyone's like, that's a man. They got free shippings on all orders, and you can build the perfect outfit in literally 5 minutes or less. Everything goes great together. They got T-shirts, they got hoodies, their jeans are awesome. Their jeans are awesome, and they come in 3, 6, and 9 packs. The more you bundle, the more you save. And I'm telling you right now, let that be your look this spring. T-shirt, jeans, flip-flops. T-shirt, jeans, flip-flops. Level up your date night or just your everyday style with clothes that actually fit right. Just go to my exclusive link at trueclassic.com/Bertcast to save. That's trueclassic.com/Bertcast. Shop now and elevate your wardrobe today. Do you have resentment? Do you have anger? Do you have any like closeted anger for the people who wronged you from the media when you were 21 years old?
I think I did for a long time.
I have a comment that it got trashed by a lot of people in recovery, but then it went viral from people that still party about like, I'm paraphrasing my own self, and which is even more dangerous than what I said the first time. But I said, if you're thinking about quitting drinking, don't. It's not the booze, it's you.
There's a truth to that.
Okay, thank you. You know, the only other person that ever said that to me was Machete. Danny Trejo. He was like, yeah, that's the 100% the truth.
I know Danny.
Yeah. And he was, but the truth is, and when I hear your story, I go,
no, I'm the problem.
Yeah.
That is a symptom.
And it's going to show up another way.
Yeah. However it shows up, it's going to show up. It's just like geographic change for that. Like no matter where you go, there you are. And unless you fix you, there's always going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Like I just chose to use this because it worked. Like it could have been cocaine. It could have been sex. It could have been food. It could have been self-harm. Those are all manifestations of the real problem. And until I fixed the real problem, now listen, after you found recovery too, like that first drink or the first drug, that's all on you.
Yeah.
You know what you have to do. You have all the solutions. What happens after that one, that's the disease. That's the brain disease that takes over. You can't control anything that happens from that point on. Everything up to that point, you have control over because you know and you have all the answers now, especially if you've gone to recovery and you've gone into rehab and you understand it and people have given you solutions. So, I'm with you there. I feel like that's a cop-out saying like it's the alcohol. It's not the alcohol.
I have a buddy of mine, good friend of mine that is sober. I think he's had some instances of falling off. I don't know that for sure, but sober. And he saw me one night and he was like, how you doing? Because I wasn't drinking at the time. He said, I'm proud of you, man. That's good. And he goes, I just quit jerking off. I got 3 days clean. And I went, I go, what? And he goes, he's like, I've been sober for a while, but then I was jerking off like 12 times a day. And I was like, how? I was like, wait, hold on. And that was the first time I was like, I don't think you kicked the problem. If you're jerking off 12 times a day. And he was like, I know.
That's why I'm quit for 3 days.
Yeah. I was like, ooh.
No, it manifests itself in different things. You'll to find that abject numbing of whatever you need. There's something wrong.
Yeah.
That you have to try to compensate for. That's all it is. And so that's why I never get like when people talk about do you have a problem drinking or anything like that? Like when people ask me, why don't you drink or something like that? Or I just say I'm allergic. I'm allergic to it. I break out in handcuffs. That's just the difference, right? Yeah. You don't, or you might from time to time. I don't. You don't.
I don't drink and drive. I'm actually probably a sweeter person. I shut down a little bit sometimes where I get a little loud, but it gets rid of my anxiety. I think it causes my anxiety. Yeah. It really does cause my anxiety. The problems I have with drinking are all internal, of like waking up.
I think you're probably just an anxious person in general. And so it doesn't really matter how that, there's your point of emphasis that's just, and so that's usually my answer to people. I'm like, it's not the same for everybody else.
Yeah. What was when did the downhill start with painkillers?
So I've had 15 surgeries. So it was after my freshman year of college, it was my left shoulder that they operated on. And it was the first time I ever got opiate painkillers afterwards. And they're exactly what they're supposed to be used for. They're for acute pain. They were built for that, manufactured, the chemistry behind it, and it worked. And as soon as it was ready to start rehabbing and get back to it, never thought about it again. I just knew that I liked it, and it worked, and that's what it's supposed to do. So I'd love to tell you that, I used while I was playing, and it was the reason why I wasn't very good, but it's not. I didn't start abusing it till about 3 months after I was out of the league when I had quit. I was in Vegas for a fight. Do you remember this part of the thing? Mm. So we were at a Tyson fight, and at the MGM, and they, your hosts there, the quid pro quo, you gamble, they give you free shit, and when they give you the ringside tickets, they announce your name in the audience, like, Bert Kreischer's here in the audience, everybody goes berserk. Well, it was Tiger Woods, Charles Barkley, Dr. Dre, and the place went berserk, and I was just kind of going, oh fuck, I know what's coming here, and they announced my name, and the whole MGM Grand just boos and hisses, and it's not like that hadn't happened before, because you play football, you go on the road, you play in an opposing team stadium, but you're wearing a helmet, your shoulder pads, you almost got this armor on it, and it emboldens you even. In that moment, I heard, not only are you a horrible football player, but you are a absolute shit human being. That's how I interpret it. That's how my addict brain interpreted it. And so after that fight, we went to parties where there were Super Bowl champs and there were Hall of Famers where I always felt less than and judged now. And an acquaintance of mine offered me some Vicodin. And I mixed it with the alcohol that night, and I walked in and out of those parties, and I didn't feel any of that shame or that judgment or that fear or that less than. And I'm like, this is the fucking answer. This is what I've been searching for, not to feel this way. And that's where it started. And for the next 8 years, I was trying to chase that feeling. Really? And so that's what those 8 years of addiction looked like then after that. And started from that night.
I remember the first time I got drunk, I remember I felt sparkly. And I was like, and I remember we got caught drinking, and Mrs. Rieger brought us in. I was with the guy I was telling you about that was in rehab in Malibu. Yep. I was with them. And she dumped the beers on the table. And I had a buzz. And I said to myself, I know I should be nervous, and I know I should be that I'm in trouble, but I don't seem to care.
I don't feel like it.
I don't feel like it. And I was like, whatever this is pretty cool.
It's just moving yourself away from what really is going on. So the state of Montana is big. It's huge geographically, small population-wise.
I drove a motorcycle across it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Where'd you go to?
Sturgis.
Yeah. Okay. So you go through Yellowstone and then went down.
Yeah, we went through Crow Nation, and we skydived into Montana, which is insane.
When I was in Europe, we were in Interlaken. We went for like 16 straight days out of a helicopter skydiving.
That's terrifying.
Yes.
I saw that. Like, did you do your own skydiving, or did you have
I had a tandem for the first, we did it for, I think it was 12 out of the 16 days, and then the final 4 were but I remember talking to them because they were talking about weight and everything with and I remember us going up the helicopter and me lying about my weight. Like I was more than 250 at the time. And I'm like, why are you lying about this? You're going to kill 2 people right now. Why? The chute's not going to carry or something. Something's not. I'm like, why are you doing this? You know? But we made it for 16 straight days. So
I did when I did tandem skydiving. He was like, "How much do you weigh?" I was like, "I don't know, 250." He goes, 250. I was like, "I don't know, man. It could be a lot."
You know, when you're going to ask these kind of questions, have a fucking scale here, right? Run a good business, right? This is your life at stake here,
dude. That's so crazy. Who did you go skydiving? Do you remember the guy's name? Was it Doug by any chance?
Were you in Interlochen?
Yeah, but a lot. And I know a guy who does that. It's terrifying because they take the helicopter up and then the helicopter hovers at like 10,000 feet.
13,000 feet.
13,000. It hovers.
Yes, and when you leap, there's the jet wash where you can hear your tandem right in your ear, like you guys were just sitting in a like you and I, like this. And then all of a sudden you get out of the jet wash and it's just, you can't hear a damn thing.
Yeah.
He had the camera right on his wrist, so he's videotaping all of it as we're going, you know, and the look on my face. Well, it was like me carrying around a Cabbage Patch doll. He was a Army Ranger. He was from the U.S.
Yeah.
He was an Army Ranger, and now he was living in Switzerland, taking, you know, idiots that living in hostels skydiving every day.
What made you, how old were you when you did this?
This was after I retired. This was after I went back to school and finished my degree, and I was like, you know, you go, when you're done, graduate from college, you go abroad, I guess, right?
Yeah.
You know, and mess with the Russian mafia and shit. I get it, you know? So I only got recognized twice, once in Barcelona and once in Ibiza. That's it. So it was really great. It didn't, you couldn't get, you probably could have got crazy more drugs over there when I was in Amsterdam, stuff like that. But I didn't use when I was over there. I drank.
Yeah.
But that was not, it was a good trip, 6 months.
So wait, can I tell you though, this is the weird part, is I only know you as I like you. Because of that, because I vaguely remember that. I remember, you know, the branding of like, the biggest draft bust in history. I thought it was DeMarcus. What was his name?
Russell.
DeMarcus Russell.
There's so many different things.
That was my example of that.
And none of us chose where we'd go.
Yeah.
All we did was be great in college.
What's crazy is I remember Steve DeBerg getting that, Steve Young getting that, Vinny Testaverde getting that, the throw-in Samoan. Who was I just talking to?
Jack Thompson.
Jack Thompson getting
He's
that?
from Wazoo. He's our godfather. We call him the Godfather.
I remember because I was a Bucks fan.
Yeah.
And I remember everyone getting that title.
I played for the Bucks.
Yeah, I know. 2001.
Yeah. I loved that. Was my favorite time in the league.
Really?
Tony Dungy, man. That defense. I mean, me and Derek Brooks and Rondé Barber and
Sapp was on that team. And you knew Sapp from your recruiting trip
to Miami. I didn't know him. I didn't know it was him.
Yeah.
You know, years later, I had this realization that I partied with Warren Sapp and The Rock that night and didn't know who the hell they were. You know, like they were just in this limo that we were going around to parties in South Beach or in Coral Gables and here I'm in like cutoff jeans and a flannel shirt from Montana and just like a fish out of water like crazy, you know. But I'm glad I went on the trip. I'm glad I did it. So it's an experience I'll never be able to take back. I appreciate that. I started talking to groups. I went and talked to a group, I go speak to football teams every August. And when I ask the question to them now, like, how many of you know my story? Like most of them will raise their hands. And I always preface it with, do you know it because of a positive or a negative? And it's gone, the scales have gone like this in terms of the people that would raise their hand in terms of negative to now the hands are being raised in positive that I'm an analyst and that I'm an advocate. And, and that will prove to everybody out there that if you just keep getting up, keep breathing, just this shall too pass, or however you say it.
Dude, that's my takeaway from you. When I get bummed out, and I get bummed out for crazy reasons. Right now I'm bummed out because I haven't been on stage in a while. I was taking time off for like a mental health of like, I was working so
you
hard.
were purposely doing it.
I purposely did it.
Yeah.
I purposely did it. And I decided I'm going to take 1 year off. And I said to myself, Louis C.K. did that. And I said that Ali did it. Tommy's done it. A lot of people have
Louis
done
wasn't forced to?
No, Louis just,
at the time?
He did do one of those. He did one of those also. But he's doing it right now. He's taking a year off.
Yeah.
And so I said, I feel like my act is stagnant. I feel like I've rewritten my same, I feel like I caught myself rewriting similar jokes from the past. And I was like, I can't be in that situation. This last hour, I was like, I need one thing. And it took me so long to find one thing that I was like, all right, I need to take some time off and reassess. And in doing that, I took off the uniform and I didn't know who I was. I had no idea who I was. And what happened is the brain that would keep active with comedy and writing comedy and knowing that I had a set that night and knowing that I had to, I was going to be talking that night, that brain turned into a really unhealthy mental health OCD brain. And I started assessing things that weren't real. And I would obsess about them. I mean, like get an IV and I'd think they left the port in my arm. And I'd be like, it's in there. I know it's in there. And then I'd spin out of control. I think I'm having a heart attack. And it's just like, it was like really, and so when I heard you say that one time, it's just get up. You're still breathing. This will pass. I heard you say that. I think on.
I said it on a bus. I think I know I did for that.
And I've used that as a mantra of like just get up. And the idea that your eyes open and you get to see this beautiful view of the world. And one day they're not. One day they're not going to open.
Yep.
One day you're not going to get to see this. So really drink it in. And as long as you're breathing, it's okay. You're not dead today.
And you can choose to be like I wake up and I choose to be gloriously happy.
Yeah.
Now, because of perspective, right? I slept in a 8x10 cement box on a steel slab for 3 years. So like there's a lot of gratitude and everything. Like this couch is fucking comfortable, bro. I mean, like I like the feeling of this thing right here, and like I have a perspective that a lot of people don't have. And so I think that allows me to, when I wake up in the morning, I just go, I'm choosing to be happy. We're gonna have the greatest goddamn day you can imagine.
And you also know the bottoms of addiction.
Yeah.
The thing that I will never, the one jaw-dropping moment is when you talked about, I don't think it was your grandfather, although I knew you went to your grandfather's house to get pills. I want to say it was like a neighbor, and you went into a neighbor's house and they came home.
Yeah.
That for me was like,
the ends justify the means for me. Like that's how fucked up and sinister an opioid addiction is, because it affects your brain in a way that I knew what I was. I could see myself in the mirror. I wasn't like delusional to the fact that I was a junkie criminal at this point. But the only way for me not to feel that way was to numb it. And the only way to numb it was to go in that vicious circle of doing it. So I knew what I was, but the amazing part of it, as soon as they were in my hands, they weren't even in my system. And this is how the chemical effectiveness they have on you, they were just in my hand. They weren't even in my body, and I felt better. I knew I was going to be in relief for 4 to 6 hours. It's just, and how is my ass? Like I'm 6'7" at the time, 275 pounds. Like I'm not fucking Selena Kyle running around, as a cat burglar. Like I'm, I got found out pretty quick. And so I can't even imagine that in a state where per capita, the population has the most guns in the country, how I didn't get shot.
I should read this like a porn ad. Hey, Blue Chew, I hope you like this, okay? Hey, have better sex with Blue Chew. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewy tablets. These erection-enhancing tablets help men achieve stronger, harder, and longer-lasting erections for sexual activities. Blue Chew's putting their money where their mouth is and offering you a month free. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their many licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped directly to your door. You can take them anytime, day or, night. So you can plan ahead or be ready whenever the opportunity arises. Best part? It's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. If you're asking this guy, they're worth it. Come 4 p.m. as the sun sets, get in the hot tub, take a Blue Chew, and wait for her to come home and give her the surprise of her life. Make life easier by getting harder and discovering your options at BlueChew.com. We got a special deal for our listeners. Try your first month of Blue Chew free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And I want to thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast.
I was speaking up in Montana one time, and I was just like, which is funny. I would love to talk to you about this sometime, maybe offline too, about for a stand-up, you do an hour worth of stand-up. My speech is an hour probably, and it's storytelling. It's very, Craig Gass. Yeah. So Craig and I
he's from up there.
He's from up in Washington. Yeah. And I love his story. Like, he was raised by all deaf people. He learned how to speak by watching TV, and that's why he can do all these crazy imitations of voices. I listen to him when he goes on Stern, but then I also just call him sometimes. I say, hey, give me a Pacino or who's having a real problem with his spouse, and he'll just do on a riff for me. I love comedy, but I think it would be really fun because what I do when I stand up there is essentially a show.
Yeah,
it's my story.
I would love to watch it. I would love to watch it because I think.
I told you I'm going into San Quentin on Friday. So, like, down the road,
I get terrified by that.
Why?
Because
you don't think they might let you out?
Yeah. I got accidentally locked into a jail cell in Alcatraz. They said, "Hey, we'll put you in. We'll shut it," and they shut it.
And they couldn't get you out.
They couldn't open it, and I
freaked out.
I had a really bad panic attack. And I was like, "Hold on," and they're like, "Give us a second. We got to get because it's a national park. We got to get him in here."
I was just take these things off the hinges here for you.
I wonder what it was like when they really lock it for you,
bro.
And there's no like, "Hey man, can you just open it for a little bit?"
There's no hope. You're hopeless. They close that door. I hear it now too. Like, I see it on TV shows and stuff when I hear the doors, and like we went through when I went and spoke in Montana and in Indiana recently, and the doors close and they got to buzz them and everything like that, and there's real PTSD with that shit.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like, you're right there. Just like when you have things that bring up memories for you. What does that a lot for me is music. Like, I'll hear a song and that will transport me right to a place where I was at. Like, I would drive around my hometown, casing houses to go steal with Kid Cudi just freaking blasting on my thing. I don't know why.
Yeah.
That's just where I was then. So now if I hear any of, Pursuit of Happiness and shit like that, that's immediately where I go to. So, but I'm telling you right now what it does. And I thought about me more. I spoke at this Big Sky conference thing, and I knew I was going to go to Montana and speak in the prison that I had. The last time I'd been in there was.
Wait, you went back to the prison you were in?
Yeah. And spoke to this group, the Last Mile group in there. And so the media who was with me 2 days before at this event started asking me about it because they knew I was going to be there and they're going to be there to do a story on it. They started asking me about how I felt about everything, and I was struggling with the idea of, I was going to drive right by the intake place, which was miserable. You were there for 83 days, 23 hours of the 24 hours you were locked in a cell with another person. You only got to let out for 1 hour while they're doing evaluations of you on your threat level, on where you will be placed inside the prison. And I hated that place. I hated that so much. I hated the introduction to it where you go in and the dehumanizing aspect of it, right? They strip you down, make you bend over and cough and do all that. It's incredibly dehumanizing. It just is. I see that happen on TV and movies, shows too, and I immediately just am like gagging too. So I know I'm going to go through all this, the razor wire, all the things that go with it. Also, I know I'm going to see some guards that were there when I was there who were horrible to me.
Really?
Yeah. And so I know this is going to happen. And they start asking me questions about how I feel. And I was able to, because it was preempted before I got there, to kind of disassociate and go, oh yeah, this has nothing to do with me. This has everything to do with these guys that are currently there. I get to leave that day. They don't. Couldn't trying to figure out and develop some hope so when they get out, they can find the life that I had. So those optics, and for the media to grab me the couple days before allowed that to happen. So when I went there and I did see those two guards and I did see the place, none of it none of it bothered me at all. I was there for a particular focus, and it was to give these guys hope, and we accomplished that.
Is there anything you did when you went there that you wished you could have done when you were there? Meaning, when you were a prisoner and you're like, I always wonder what it would be like to be in that room. And then you're like, hey, can I go in that room real quick?
No. No. I just, I didn't go. I went outside twice in 32 months.
For real?
Yeah. It's something about seeing the Rocky Mountains where you grew up hunting and fishing through razor wire and you can't go that made me really despondent.
I bet.
And I was worthless for 26 of those 32 months, man. I didn't do anything. I sat on my ass in my bed. I ballooned up to 320. I was 325 pounds when I got out. There's a really good parole shot of me that they had to take.
Pull it up. I got to see this.
Yeah, I got it on my phone, I think. So, I mean.
You ballooned up to 3. Was the food good?
No. It's just full of salt.
Yeah.
And just disgusting. And we'd ordered most of the stuff on Canteen. So it would just be eating, ramen was like, you know how much salt is in ramen.
Oh my God.
I was about to stroke out from high blood pressure when I got out.
Really?
Yeah. It was bad news, man.
Is that you up there?
Not that one. This one. That's that one. Look at it.
Oh my God.
Right?
You look like Pete Holmes. Sorry, Pete.
Not to say there's anything wrong with that, Pete.
No,
all right?
He's a good-looking guy.
Yeah.
He's married. He's got a family.
Yeah.
Very talented. I'm sorry, Pete.
No one wanted to marry me then.
Jesus.
The morning after, that's the morning after I got out. Stayed at home. Slept in a real bed for the first time in in 3 years. A lot of gratitude, a lot of gratefulness. And I go to I'm at my mom and dad's house. I'm 38 years old. I used to be a millionaire. So like the ego's taken a pretty sizable hit, right? But I slept in a good bed. I had a place to lay my head. A lot of guys don't have that when they get out. Mom was making me breakfast. Opened up the newspaper, my hometown newspaper, bro. And there was this cartoon in there, a big old kind of goofy buck teeth caricature of me, and it said, "Lock up your medicine cabinets, Ryan Leaf's out." And Bert, man, like if there's any semblance of hope I had, and this is a story about my grandpa's place, because I immediately lost all hope, and my muscle memory was like, I need to find pills. I can't feel this way. And so I got in the car because I knew Grandpa had just had knee replacement.
Yeah.
And I started driving out there. And the disassociation part that I talk about, like I'm about 15 miles of the 40-mile drive to get to his house. And I kind of get outside myself and I look at myself and I go, what are you doing? Play the tape through. You know where this goes. You're going back to prison, but you're most likely going to die. You're going to finish it this time. And so we flipped a Yui and I drove back into town and went to the mission and the homeless shelter and started just helping. What I ended up really doing was just doing this. I sat down and had conversations and I really didn't do much. I just listened. There's these people kind of disenfranchised, right? Who just didn't feel seen or heard. And I just made them feel seen or heard. And that like changed their perspective, or it just, and what I found, plain and simple, and this is the easiest way you can tell everybody on your show about, and I want to say that maybe it just works for me, but I used to think to make your life better, everything had to be about you. What it got you, what it gave you, what somebody can do for you. That's not true at all. As it turns out, is that for your life to get better, if you make it about somebody else, your life gets better. Because you remove yourself from the equation. You got shit going on. You got a problem. Guess what? You walk into a homeless shelter. I have a place to lay my head. This dude doesn't have a place to sleep.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't a problem for me. I got it. Who's got it better than I do?
God, is there anything? I'm obsessed with that, going back to your old prison. So I went back to my old high school.
I can't do that.
You can't go back to your old high school?
No. We had our 40th high school reunion this year. I didn't go, but I hated high school, Brandon.
Really?
Yeah, I hated it. I was ostracized. I was like different, and like my girlfriends were from 90 miles away at another high school. All my friends were from surrounding towns.
Really?
I was kind of from the wrong side of the tracks in terms of what this school was. Our school was pretty bougie, and there was like a kind of a rich clique of kids. And I don't know if you remember that part from the podcast where they duped me into going out with that girl, and they called from the house. Like they stood me up. She stood me up one time, and then I wasn't smart enough to know that it was a bit. And then they tried it again, and I called the house the next time, and I could hear everybody in the background laughing at me, and stuff.
I don't remember that.
That's like in the second episode, and you always like, and from that point on, I just treated women like objectively, like you were just something that was pretty on my arm that I could fuck, and that was it. That was like how women were in my life the rest of my life, until I got out, and of course I met my wife, and where there's true intimacy, where she knows who I am, and I clearly, because she saved my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, like trauma, bro. When you're little, you're young, your heart, your brain is developing, and stuff like that will haunt you forever.
It's crazy because you were the high school hero, basketball, football.
Yeah.
And you still did not connect with those kids.
I didn't. I don't have one friend from high school.
Really?
Not one. I did run into a few of them this last night, but they were from my rival high school that I was athletes with. I saw them. I got to see a few of them because they were there. It was Montana State was in the national championship last night, and I called that game. And so I got to see a few of them, and that was kind of cool. I shouldn't say that. I had dinner down there with a kid I went to high school with, and we're friends. So
it's so funny. I'm texting with all my high school friends right now. I wonder how much of that informs, especially as a dad, when I don't know, you take out whatever you need to take out of this, Christine, but like, so my daughter's abroad right now, and I am in the place where I have you said one time, money doesn't fix anything. If anything, it accentuates your problems.
Right. It exacerbates any like character defects.
And so when I traveled abroad, I don't know if anyone knows that story, but when I traveled abroad in college, I got to Russia by myself. My parents didn't help me pack my bag. I packed my own bag. I picked my own clothes. I then backpacked through Europe for a few months, and I did it all on my own. I got help from my dad would send me money when I'd run out of money, but not like $1,000, like $100 here and there. But I got myself to Russia with the class. I got myself to Baden-Baden. I backpacked all through Europe by myself. I got myself on a plane, and I flew home. My daughter, I kind of did it for her because I'm so good at traveling. And I've traveled so much. I was like, trust me on this. And I, got her tickets on miles so we can upgrade her and all this stuff. And then I thought to myself, and I stayed up all night as she was traveling through different airports. I set alarms for when she would be landing. And I woke up and I'd call her, and I could hear her scared. She was like quiet. She told me, I'm shitting my pants right now, Dad. Like, I'm shitting myself. This is no one speaking English. And I was like, yeah, I know. This is what. And I thought to myself, am I doing a disservice to my child by holding her hand through the process? I don't want my little girl to be scared, but she is 20. She is fucking 20.
She's a baby.
But all those formative things add up to the person you are. And when you are a kid, and I kept going, I kept thinking, who created that chip on Ryan's shoulder? And that you fixed that chip within whatever recovery you did, you fixed that chip. And that chip was the thing that chip was so deep in your shoulder. And when you hear that about high school, I go, oh yeah, I can't imagine being the hero on the field, on the court, dominating other dudes my age, and then them not liking me or connecting with me.
Or maybe I couldn't ever rationalize embarrassing them on a court, and then when we got off being buddy, they took it like I was like, well, that was just on the court. I'm just competing. No, they want to fight me in the locker room because I made them I embarrassed them, right? I palm the basketball like that, and they'd turn around and I'd go up and just dunk on them and make them feel foolish. I don't know. It's just, I watched Michael Jordan do it. It's just, when but you don't know at the time that you're going to be Michael Jordan of your hometown. That's essentially what it was going to be. I was going to be the second pick in the NFL draft. So I was that. I think Michael didn't go to third. So, I mean, that's the mindset that we have. You just never know. I mean, every dad asks the kid to write down what your goals are, and every kid writes down, I'm going to be the Heisman Trophy winner. I'm going to win the national championship. I'm going to go play professional this, that, and the other. Every kid does that. Every dad has them do that. But the only time it gets brought out is when the kid does make it. And then they're like, can you believe it? He knew it when he was 8 and he was writing it down. I'm like, yeah, so did my neighbor next door,
I wrote it down.
But then he fell down, trying to walk to home plate one time. So those goals, Dad was like, I'm ripping this shit up, it's going out the door.
I sat in church at 10 years old and they, you do, I forget how Catholic Church works now, but you do
Dude, I just did, didn't I tell you? I grew up Catholic too. Yeah. I just did Cardinal Dolan's Christmas special on Sirius XM. I read the Christmas story.
Oh, for real?
Yes.
Oh, no way.
It was crazy.
Holy shit.
Yeah. We were promoting the new thing, the new relationship with Sirius XM, and I got asked to come do it. Like Megyn Kelly was the one that read it last year. And I'm like, are they slumming it now, or is it the other way?
Is this an honor, or did they run out of money?
Are they like, yeah? I'm like, are they slumming it now?
Did they used to pay people and now they're getting me?
Yeah, they're like, how do I view this?
I did the same thing. They asked me to do CBS New Year's, and I was like, it's an honor. Or are they out of money? Wait, am I like?
I've taken the leniency of now going, if I'm being asked, I'm going to take it as an honor, period.
Yeah, it's an honor.
I don't care whatever the semantics or anything is behind it. Like the fact that that I was in a prison cell 10 years ago and now they're asking me to do something like that. I'm going to go, okay, this is good.
I got Comedian of the Year 1 year at Montreal. I shouldn't say this out loud.
So you were Canadian Comedian of the Year.
No. The Montreal was used to be the biggest festival it was Just for Laughs. It's the biggest festival.
So it was a North American thing.
It's North American.
All right.
I shouldn't say this because it's horrible, but it's true. And sometimes I think your secrets make you sick.
They do.
And it was an honor to get that award. And I got there and someone let it slip. They're like, I'm so glad you could make it up here. And I was like, oh yeah, of course, it's an honor. And they're like, well, we went to another guy and he just couldn't make it work in his schedule. And I was like, wait, who was the first Comedian of the Year? And they were like, huh? And I was like, was I your second option?
Was it your third option?
Or was I? How many people didn't want to fly to Montreal?
Yeah. He said yes.
I said yes.
Yes.
And I won it.
I'd like that award.
I took it, man. I cried when I got it. Give a fuck. I won it.
I'm speaking at this event in DC in February. I agreed to speak at the event, and then like a week later, they call me and say I'm getting the award. I'm getting an award.
Yeah.
I'm speaking at the breakfast, and there's a luncheon where I'm getting the award for Newsmaker of the Year. And I had the same thing. I'm like, because he even prefaced it. He goes, this is just not a coincidence that you're speaking at the event and that, we don't want to fly somebody else in to receive the award in the afternoon,
What time's your flight leave? Because
it's a train. It's a train. So it's the East Coast. The East Coast.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with prison cooking shows.
Really?
Have you seen them?
No, but I cooked in prison, and some of the foods that I made and some of the, my roommate made these tamales with tortillas
and Cheetos,
Doritos crushed up
with water,
hot water in them.
I've been watching these aggressively.
Yes,
I'm so into them.
Yes,
dude. This guy made the coolest.
Dude, you would not believe some of the concoctions we made with our commissary stuff for meals.
Yeah.
Nutty. Yeah.
It's so wild. What was your favorite meal that you made in prison? Did you ever have a meal where you're like, this is as good as on the outside?
No. I mean, but it's so far between of when you had anything on the outside that you're like, oh God, this is really good. And when we were able to make that, when he was able to make that tamale mix and then we'd put them away, we'd save them up, we'd wrap them up really good and have these tortillas, these tamales put away for a while, and we'd heat them up and everything like that down the line. We'd eat them for like a week. Oh man, that was some good stuff, bro. So I've never had a cup of coffee in my life, and we got 2 bags of coffee every week in commissary, and I would sell that shit for like 10x to people in there, and I
Really?
I would make a living off those 2 bags of coffee, man, because guys were just looking for ways to get cracked out. You know,
Wait, you never drank coffee?
I haven't had a cup in my life, no.
Just because of the taste? Or?
Yeah, hate the taste, smell.
Oh, I love the
And
taste.
I never had a soda or caffeine until I was in prison, and then somebody gave me a Dr. Pepper, and all of a sudden I was like a fiend again. Like I started drinking. That's how I ballooned up to 325 pounds.
Dr. Pepper is so fucking good.
Oh God, I've done a pretty good job now. I've limited it all, but now it's become a cherry Pepsi guy. But I get the mini cans. The mini cans are the savior.
You don't do diet?
No.
Oh,
I'm not gonna. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, bro. Like, you know.
I said to a woman one time, I'm on my 5th beer, eating dinner. On my 5th beer, and they're big beers.
Right.
They're big beers. And she said, "Can I get you something else to drink?" And I said, "I'll take another beer." And she goes, "How about a soda?" I said, "I don't drink soda." She said, "Why not?" And I said, "The calories." She went, "Excuse me?"
See these beers you're drinking?
And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, honestly, I would love to have a root beer, but I'd have a root beer over a beer any day. Any day. If you go, you get when I took like a big stretch of not drinking, and my go-to was a big Trenta Starbucks cup filled with crushed ice with a diet root beer, and I would drink that like it was fucking God's cum. I would be like, I love root beer so much. And that lady looked at me and she goes, "You've had
Is that just a speculation of what God's cum tastes like?"
Sure, it tastes good.
Yeah.
We're all made from it.
Yeah.
So,
well, I don't think you and I would be looked at as like, that's tasty.
yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
I should say God's vagina.
There, thank you.
You'd be more inclusive.
Feminist.
But I love root beer, and man, I love sodas. And I have my thing.
I miss beer. I miss like playing
Dax has a non-alcoholic beer,
and I did, well, a lot of do like you got O'Doul's.
Yeah.
You have Bush makes a really good one. Bush Light makes a really good non-alcoholic.
I've had that one.
Yeah. So
Heineken, but Heineken Zero is pretty good.
I miss hot golf course, just cold ass Bud Light.
Do you have to get your golf clubs custom made?
Yeah.
Because you're so tall?
Yeah, with like 1.5-inch extensions.
Really?
Yeah.
What clubs do you play with?
I just got fitted for some new ones. I got new TaylorMades that I hit my first hole-in-one this year.
No.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
9-iron.
I never
thought it was going to happen.
Never hit a hole in one. And I had a golf course one time say, "We'll shut the course down for you, whatever you want." And I said, "All I want is a par 3 over water by the clubhouse. And I want to hit all day and try to see my hole in one."
Yep.
And I hit till my hands were blistered and I never got a hole in one.
Do you feel like you have any privacy?
No.
And
I'll tell you
you
everything.
cultivated that where you don't.
Yeah. And it sucks for my family.
Yeah.
But like my wife and I are starting couples therapy tomorrow.
Yeah.
And
good for you. Did you hear about my couples therapy thing that we talked about?
No.
So we came away with this one thing, and this might be helpful to you guys. When we come into a situation where there's, any sort of like if Anna wants to talk to me about something or something that's gone wrong, and she wants, my first question to her out of the gate is, solution or support? Which one do you want?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, they just want support.
Yeah.
Where us guys are usually solution based, and we want to
fix it.
And she doesn't need it fixed. She just wants to vent about the thing that's happened, and she wants you to put your arm around her and support her. So me adding that to the mix and things, and same with me, because I do the same thing. Just say, start it off like this: support or solution.
I had said to her when we were not fighting, and we were not fighting at all, I said, "Yo, we should do couples therapy," because we both believe in therapy. But I was like, we should do couples therapy because we're in a really great place in our marriage right now. And I was like, I'm not saying it'll go away, but it's like if you're in great shape, why not also start jogging? Like, why not also lift weights? If you're in great shape, don't just go, "Well, God gave it to me, I don't have to worry about it."
So you train your muscles. You have a strength and conditioning coach, right?
Yeah.
What's the most? It's not a muscle. I get it, and people get. But what is the most important muscle in your body? I say it's your brain. Why wouldn't you be training that the same way you train everything else?
Yeah.
And so that's great, man. I'm happy
as you were walking up today, we were talking about it. Because I believe in online therapy. I personally believe in online therapy. I'm a big proponent for online therapy. But the lady that we booked wants to meet us in person at first. And I was like, I just want to go online. And it's like, and she was, as you're pulling up. And I said, we got into a fight about couples therapy. I thought it was funny. No one found it funny. The guy's like, I think I might go in as like a character and like make you look crazy. And she was like, and she got really mad. She was like, no, God, no. And I couldn't understand why she got so mad. So I said, well, what if I just put like a subtle accent that you knew was full of shit, but she never knew? And I was like, yes. And Leanne's like, hey, is this a bit you're doing? I was like, yeah, kind of. I want to try it on stage. And I'm going on stage tonight. And I said, can I? And as you're walking up, I go, hey, can I tell people about our therapy? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, cool.
So I'm the same boat as you, right? Yeah. So I've made my life fully transparent.
I think it's healthy. I would love to be like my two of my close friends. They've never mentioned their kids. They don't fucking talk to you about their marriage. They don't talk about anything personal. It's just not how I make sausage.
I feel like I would be exhibiting old behavior of just trying to hide stuff. And now my wife is adamant about the idea of like I'll like I get pretty sarcastic with people on Twitter and stuff like that, and like they get crazy nuts. Like then they're like, let's fight, and my wife's like, they're going to find out where we live, and our kids are going to be coming around, and I don't think about that stuff, and I have to because there are crazy people in this world, and they do shit like that.
Yeah,
and so I have to be more aware of that. But I'm with you on that. I'm just like, I like that I'm an open book because I don't think it allows for anybody to ever have any ammunition with me. Like I've taken all the power away of anything that anybody ever wants to say about me, to me. I'm the B-Rabbit from the end of 8 Mile where he just throws all his shit out there and says, what do you got now?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I feel like I to be honest with you, I don't know. I found it attractive when celebrities would tell you a secret.
Yeah.
I found it attractive. And I was like, ooh. I love that. And it's almost like they trusted me with them. So that's the way I've operated. I've always
I appreciate
shared
that.
every secret. And I think if I could put
Is this a sponsor, Liquid Death?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're fucking awesome. And by the way, it's the delivery system. I drink my thing. I was talking to someone about my drinking the other day, and I call it at a certain time. I call it, and I go, I'm done drinking. I'm start drinking water, and I drink immediately. I kill 2 Liquid Deaths the second. And I don't know what it does, but it gives me a different buzz. And I feel like
it's called hydration.
Yeah, it's hydration.
Yes.
And I kill 2 Liquid Deaths, and then I try to drink 4 before I go to bed. I drink.
So 4. I try to drink my body weight in water a day.
I do. I easily drink. I get IVs aggressively, like twice a week. But I always drink at least 4 before I go to bed, and I probably have 4 throughout the day.
But I still can't do anything explosive. Like my wife made me quit playing softball this season.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I kept getting hurt after every game.
Really?
Yeah, I'd come home with a pulled calf or, quad or.
Oh.
I was like a walking wounded.
Are you going to Super Bowl this year?
I haven't decided yet.
Well, if you do, let me know.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing a show at the Super Bowl Saturday night.
Gas does one. Gas does the same thing. He gets a little shoots, shows every year at the Super Bowl so he can come and do the Radio Row and do all this stuff.
Oh, yeah?
And I'm on. The reason I got back in the public eye was
I think he was at my Super Bowl show last year.
I bet. Yeah, he was. He told me.
I think he was. Yeah.
He said he was going to because we didn't go. This last year was the first Super Bowl we didn't go to, and since Super Bowl 50.
Really?
And the reason we went to that one was to get a health check by the NFL. And I was nervous about going there because it was Peyton's last game. He was playing against Carolina for the Super Bowl in San Francisco. And I went up there and I ran into the Dan Patrick show, and they asked me to come on. It would be the first public comments I had since I got out of prison.
Oh, wow.
And I was so nervous, and they sent me over to Radio Row afterwards, and I asked Craig if he would go with me. Because Craig is, he'll get on in the comedy, it's a comedy relief through everything. And,
yeah.
And dude, he carried me through Radio Row that day with doing some of his voices and comedy, but he saw it from a completely different view because like players like Steve Young and Jerry Rice came up to me and were like hugging me and like saying, I'm so happy you're here. And where I was so fearful that everybody was going to look at me and like, why is he here? Get him out of here. He doesn't belong here. And so it was this unbelievably cathartic thing, and Craig was at the center of it for me. And so every Super Bowl, he books gigs there so he can come do all this and watch the Super Bowl and then do his gigs during the week, whether they're just little comedy store things or all over the venues. And so we always go watch him while we're out there too. My wife and I. My wife loves him to death.
Well, let me know if you come. We have Nikki, me, Tony Hinchcliffe, Adam Ray's doing Dr. Phil, and we're at the UNO Lakefront Arena.
What does Hinchcliffe do? Does he do that Kill Tony thing?
He does do Kill Tony, but he's just doing stand-up for this. He does Kill Tony. That's his tour. But he's also a stand-up comedian.
Right.
And so, and not just a roaster. Like, he's a legit great comedian.
Right.
And so he's, Nikki. So is Nikki. Nikki's at a great, roasting is just, roasting and host. Roasting is a facet of what they're really talented at roasting. And by the way, so is Adam Ray. I'm okay. I'm not that great at roasting is because I don't know.
I'm not either at that aspect of things. I'm more of a storyteller.
Yeah, I'm a storyteller, and so that's what I.
That's why I like your comedy. It's why I like Craig's comedy. Because Craig's is all storytelling too.
The day I met Craig, we were talking about our first times doing cocaine, and he said he had the funniest story about him and his buddy were doing coke in the bathroom of this guy's house, and his buddy goes, "Watch this," and he just wadded up toilet paper and threw it on the ceiling, wet toilet paper. Yeah. And it stuck. And Craig's like, fuck. And he was like, yeah, I know, I've been doing it. So then Craig did it. And then they kept doing it, both of them. And then the guy that owned the house came in. He's like, hey, can I get a bump of coke? And they're like, yeah, sure. And then now they're giggling. They're like, we've been doing it, this guy. And the guy hits coke. And a lot of times when you do coke, you lean your head back and go, and the guy looks up and goes, what the fuck's all this toilet paper doing out there? And we were just standing in front of the Boston Comedy Club. He told me that story. Yep. I told him about the first time I did coke. And we were just like, he was like, what kind of music do you like? And we had similar tastes in music. Yeah,
he's done tours where he's opened up for like Metallica.
I get a call. I got a call from him the other day, and he goes, "Hey, would you like to be?" I want to. I know this is going to sound unreal, but I swear to God, he texted me and was like, "Would you like to be at Rod Stewart's loft to watch the F1 race in Vegas? I've got space for you." And I was like, "Huh?" He does that all the time. Yeah. Like, he has the wildest connections.
He's been such a good friend.
But let me know if you're coming to the Super Bowl, because our show's
in New Orleans, right?
Yeah, it's in New Orleans. Yeah. It's going to be wild.
We're going to, I got to speak in the 6th, I think, and we're going to the Bahamas after that to no kids.
So interesting.
Decompress.
You take,
just the wife and I.
I can't. I have a hard time vacationing now. I have a hard time turning it off.
I can't tell you when the last time I vacationed, so... We went to Bali like 6 years ago. So I'm not a beach guy. I'm a kind of a bougie hotel guy that has like the nice villas and like you can go to Bali and get like your own little villa with your own private pool for nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. Like the flight is what costs you to get there. That's it.
And by the way, the flight's not that bad. Well, no, I take that. But the flight's pretty bad and it's pretty long.
Yeah.
But you can get villas like in the jungle, in the rainforest, with monkeys, and it's wild with a huge pool. We took the girls to Bali. I brought weed to Bali. I didn't know that I did it on accident. It was in my cigar case.
Yeah,
and everybody
has that.
And then I said to Leanne, sure. I was like, yo, I can't believe I brought a joint. How great is this? And then Leanne's like, yo, it's punishable by death here. I was like, really? And she was so upset. She's like, you need to destroy it. And I was like, I was going to destroy it right now. And she goes, no, you're not smoking it. You're going to bury it in the ground. And
we literally walked into that villa, closed the door, took our clothes off, and didn't put them back on for like 6 days. And just sat in the swimming pool, got out. We had massage therapists come over and put the 2 tables out on the patio. We ordered our food and just stayed in bed.
That sounds like a vacation.
It was a vacation, and we've been trying to duplicate that and do that ever since. But every time we think we're ready to go do it, she gets pregnant. So it's just like, we're done though. We're done. I have a 1-year-old baby girl at home, and it's...
How many kids do you have?
2, and we're done. Yeah.
You're done?
Yeah. 7-year-old who's going to be like 6'9", 6'10", MacGyver.
Oh, I love that you named your kid MacGyver. I love that you named your kid MacGyver.
It's fitting. It couldn't be any other name for the kid. It's just... And then Claiborne is the baby, and her nickname's Bo, B-O. So, and she is a giant. She just turned 1, and she is a 1/4 inch longer than I was at 1 year old. You've never met Anna. She's 6'1". So she was an All-American volleyball player at Georgetown.
Jesus.
She's badass. You heard her on, she's been on your podcast now. So
well, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No wonder you guys dig with Gabby and Laird.
Right.
I bet the fucking.
Oh, she knows all about, like, she grew up with Carrie Walsh too at Stanford because she's from the Bay Area. Mm-hmm. And so that whole crew from those volleyball years, you know, and she was on the junior Olympic team. And
so I dated a girl who was really obsessed with volleyball when I was in high school. She ended up marrying the wide receiver for the Giants, Jason Sehorn.
Angie Harmon.
Yeah, no, the wife before that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, no. By the way, Angie Harmon follows me on Instagram. Yeah, I know. Random as fuck. I was like, 2 people follow me on Instagram that they commented on a video, and I was like,
I always find that so rare. Like, I don't do much on social media of late because the Last Mile crew has kind of taken over everything, which has been really, it's been good for the couple for my wife and I.
Yeah.
Because I can get pretty lost in some of that stuff, especially when I start, you know, trying to be, you know, quippy and fuck with people.
Yeah.
But yeah, same thing. Like when I'll get it, like Rob McElmaney, like he started following me and like commented on my 10 years out of prison post, and it was like, I'm going to be in LA. He said, hit me up. So I'm like, okay, that was pretty cool. I watched that show. I used to watch that show. I told him we're going to have some good stories. I said, I watched Always Sunny in prison like it was on all the time, everywhere.
That's fucking crazy.
I know.
But dude, this was a great podcast. And thank you so much. And thank you for everything you had to go through that you can now share it with people like myself who draw inspiration from it in the littlest ways. Look, I have never been to prison. I've dealt with booze and pills at times, but like I've got my shit together. But the things you say resonate so intensely with me, and to hear your story, I sometimes I go, man, I'm being a bitch. Like if
right,
I'm not sleeping in my parents' house.
Yeah,
I don't have to fucking. I gotta fucking pull it together.
Yeah, like it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky.
Yeah,
yeah.
But thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
It was a great podcast.
This episode was brought to you by The Machine.